I want to pull this up from NBC News. This is it. The breaking news as of 7:09 p.m. Biden secures Democratic nomination with majority of delegates. NBC News projects. That's it. I don't really care, but we all expected it to happen. But this is it. They're saying Joe Biden's going to be the guy. Now, look, a few months ago, I predicted Joe Biden would not be the guy and that he would drop out. I do not understand the play Democrats have right now with Joe Biden. I don't understand it. And the only thing I can see is there is no play. Like they'll make a move and I'll go, okay, so maybe this is their strategy. The only thing I can think of right now is they're planning ahead. They expect Biden to lose. They don't want to throw in any other Democrat candidates who might actually lose because it could damage their prospects after the next 4 years. And so at this point, maybe Democrats are like, let's obstruct Trump moving into his second term, and let's start preparing for a new backbench that can approach the Democratic Party and go for the nomination in 2028. Because I do not see a path to victory at all. And, Mike Cernovich tweeted something that I found very serious. He said Trump is too far ahead at this point for 2020 tactics to work. And I agree. And then Cernovich said, so he expects or is worried there would be an assassination on Trump, as it's the only thing at this point which stops a Trump victory. And a Trump victory is probably going to be really, really bad for Democrats. Because look, Trump talked about locking her up and draining the swamp, but that was all pillow talk. He was trying to whisper sweet nothings into the ears of his base. And as soon as he gets elected, he goes, no, we're not going to do that. Let's calm down. I'd like to introduce you to my good friend, John Bolton. But they knifed him in the back anyway. At this point, Trump's probably like, the gloves are off. Mm-hmm. Or maybe not. Maybe it's one big game, but I don't know. You were just saying, Shane, you think that Joe Biden's referencing this poem and he's not going to make it.
Well, I think maybe the logical thing that happens, because I could see the replacement thing happening, but I also see like he's a vessel for power for the left and they get him across the finish line and then he either bows out gracefully, in quotes, or he drops dead. And then my narrative arc, like what you were saying, but just a little different, is that it would be fitting for him to drop dead because his whole career is built around the death, the mourning, the grieving. Wow. And in so many speeches, you can go back and look at them. Some of them at funerals, some of them, the one was the last one he did before being sworn in. He always references James Joyce line about when I die, Dublin will be etched on my heart. And so he would say, but when I die, whatever town he's claiming to be from that time. Yeah, Scranton.
Sorry.
Whichever Biden we're talking about will be etched across his heart.
What if the real conspiracy is that Trump and Biden have been working together this whole time, and Biden is playing the villain so that America can weed out its enemies? See, the thing is, the deep state wants Trump to win to revitalize American patriotism so that we can become strong again. But they know that if they come out and say it, you'll get opposition. So they play the opposite side, make Joe Biden the villain, but he's secretly working with Trump. And then, that's why Obama was like, you don't have to do this. And Joe Biden was like, I'm going to become the villain so that this country can succeed. And so he's going to,
So the deep state is pro-patriotism.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. I don't think I've heard that one before.
My conspiracy theory is that the deep state was like, people hate this country. How do we get them to like it? Well, if we just come out and say America is good, that will embolden the opposition. Mm-hmm. They'll start attacking us. I mean, look at Iraq and Afghanistan. Everybody was like, screw the military-industrial complex. So Trump comes in and represents the underdog anti-establishment, make America great again. But the bad guys who hate, who push all the most awful things, who make garbage movies, who insult this country, eventually push everyone, including Gen Z, into the hands of American patriots. So, I mean, look, when you got Gen Z being like, yeah, I'm voting for Trump, and the latest poll was like 65% thought that Trump would do well. I'm kidding. I don't actually think the deep state is trying to prop up Trump. But I'm like, if you were trying to prop up Trump, what would you do different?
They just can't stop doing what they're doing.
And they're like, I got an idea. How do we get an entire generation to want to support America, secure its borders, and defend its international interests? Give away the inheritance of Gen Z to non-citizens.
Yeah.
And then they revolt, and you build an entire generation of people who are like MAGA.
Yeah, also lock them up for a couple years. Don't let them put them online only and then tank the economy so they feel really frustrated.
What would you do different? And Joe Biden, I mean, they were like, we need someone deeply, deeply unlikable. Someone who is seen on camera groping women and sniffing children, who's got a history of family corruption and is just plainly not cool and just totally unlikable. And they're like, we'll make him the villain, and then we'll get the celebrity that everyone loved up until he ran. Like it just that's the only conspiracy theory that makes sense at this point. Otherwise, the Uniparty is just failing.
I don't know many progressive or Democrats who say like, no, I think Joe Biden's a great guy. I really respect. I don't know many people who talk like that, but I do know a lot of people who don't like Trump. So in some ways, I think this idea that Joe Biden is the villain works for a certain sect of people, but I think for other people, there is no way to spin Trump as anything other than awful, and they won't. That you could put an actual sock puppet in Joe Biden's spot, and they'd be like, probably would do a better job.
I just heard from a
Trump.
friend who said they're voting for Biden to save democracy, and they said it with a straight face.
Yeah, but they don't like Biden. They're not saying I'm voting for Biden because I think he's inspirational, because he's got great policies, because he represents the kind of man that we'd like to see in America. They're just like, well, no Trump.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I do think he's necessary, though. I mean, I'm not sure I fully agree. I think he's the strongest possible Democratic nominee.
Really?
That's not saying a lot
you
for the
think more so
Democrats.
than like, I don't like this person at all, but more so than a Gavin?
Yeah, I do. I mean,
How so?
well, first of all, I mean, you can't underrate the sheer name recognition of Biden.
Right.
I mean, he's been in politics for 50 years.
Yeah.
He's run for president
Just
3 times.
Obama spinoff.
Yeah, this will be the 4th national ballot he's appeared on.
Right.
Right. He's on as vice president twice.
Yeah.
And I think it's absolutely necessary for the essential fiction of the pitch that they're presenting forward, which is that the Democrats are not a radical party. That they have this sort of kindly old white man centrist from 1995, and it's very critical in these suburban districts that he's not that scary. If they put someone like Gavin Newsom, for instance, the entire election will instantly become a referendum on California.
Yeah.
And so they will run endless needle pictures from San Francisco, and I think people understand that California is terribly run. That is the ruination of paradise.
But what about Michelle Obama?
Was she particularly likable in office? I mean, I think everyone's being sort of memory hold on this, or she was not I don't think her approval rating was that high as first lady.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think Biden is clearly a better politician than Hillary
I feel
Clinton.
like Gavin's been trying to clean up his act, and people do have unfortunately a short memory.
I think he's savvy.
Yeah.
I think he's I'm
apologized.
not underrating him, but I think there's 2 main problems.
Right.
One, the California albatross, which they will run on, and Trump will like running on it. And then number 2, it is not demonstrated. We talked about how narrow the margins were in 2020. It is not demonstrated that Newsom, especially somebody who did not go through the primary is over.
Yep.
It is not demonstrated that Newsom has a particular relationship with African American voters. That is going to be the key for the turnout of the Democrats. Is Newsom going to be able to turn out black voters in Phoenix, Milwaukee, Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Vegas?
And black voters love Joe Biden. Because
Correct.
when he said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black, they were like, well,
He literally got away with that.
He
Literally with that. Like, I don't think Newsom would get away with that.
What do you think
wild.
of Dean Phillips' campaign? Because he tried to spin himself as like the future, the moderate, an alternative to sort of a drifting Joe Biden administration.
I think if anyone care to watch Phillips' interview, like there's a Phillips interview with Bill Maher, he's actually pretty smooth.
He's young and he's successful.
But he got 1%. I think Phillips is essentially mini Gavin Newsom. I think Newsom would run against would hit up a similar wall.
I have a simple answer to your question about why not Dean Phillips, and it's who?
It wasn't why not Dean Phillips. It's what did you think of his campaign?
That was his slogan.
Who?
He literally said who. I think it was the picture.
Really?
He ran on. Yeah, he was open to the fact that he thought maybe he could win, but also acknowledged it was a long shot. And I think he's interesting because we had several prominent politicians come out and sort of argue the moderate ticket, right? This is what Manchin was saying. Maybe I could be a unity ticket in a couple of years. And Dean Phillips didn't opt to run as an independent like JFK. He ran as a Democrat saying, we need a change. And he immediately backed Joe Biden as soon as he entered his campaign.
You know the problem with these politicians? Dean Phillips could have easily become the front runner. I strongly believe that any...
that's the guy who made Talenti. That's so popular.
Maybe not Newsom, but Dean Phillips could if he did something like, I don't know, handcuff himself to the doors of the Twitter HQ in New York or something like that, or X Corp. And what I mean is, he did no big bang PR moves, nothing. So it's almost like, did you really try, dude? Because Laura Loomer handcuffed herself to Twitter HQ at the time and made herself the #1, I think, worldwide trend on the platform that banned her. She and then she took criminal aliens, and jumped over Nancy Pelosi's walls. I'm not suggesting Dean Phillips literally take criminal aliens and jump into Nancy Pelosi's house. I'm saying he did nothing to do a big bang, here I am on the stage. He literally, I guess, I didn't even know his slogan was who. He was, his plan was, I will revel in the fact that I am an unknown and have no chance whatsoever in any way.
I think he was gambling that Biden was going to collapse, and I think he was also uber flattered by the Wall Street money. I mean, Bill Ackman, the sort of very famous Wall Street tycoon, threw money at him. I think they thought some sort of organic groundswell would occur, and it didn't happen. And
I think he's trying to get out in front of Newsom.
If he did anything.
See, I think he's trying to soft get out in front of Newsom. He doesn't want to challenge Biden too directly, but he does want to set the stage for 2028 when possibly he has more name recognition because he ran now.
True, fair point.
We won't be talking about.
But also, what if? Really?
I don't think we'll be talking about Mr. Phillips in 2028. Due respect to the good congressman.
What if he took those suction cup things and climbed Trump Tower?
That could have worked, but
everyone would know his name.
Do you think you could suction cup climb Trump Tower?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, if it was like life or death.
But it's the presidency or not.
Is that enough of a motivation?
I would run from Trump Tower. I don't want to go anywhere near the presidency. But for someone like Dean Phillips, again, I'm not. It's meant to be a bit tongue in cheek and silly.
I know.
My point is, he did nothing on the level of climbing with suction cups. Remember that guy who did that? I was there in New York. I went there to watch.
He's a pro, though, right?
Which one?
Yeah,
There's the one who does it for like.
Oh no! I think I was there
rights.
when the guy. I think I was there when the guy climbed the tower, desperately trying to talk to Trump. He was like, "I'm a big fan. I'm a Trump supporter. I need to talk to him." And he climbed.
This guy had some suction cup skills, right?
I don't think. I don't think you actually need skills.
I would want some training.
Yeah, I need to know.
No, for sure. What I mean is, like, I'm sure he learned how to use them. I don't think he was like a pro suction cup guy.
And he made it
because you press the button and go, and then it's like it doesn't move, and then you just.
Are you cemented to the cup?
Right, that's the hard part. Is keeping your hands like this, like ice climbers. They have to
I suppose if I'm glued to it,
but you're standing.
Then you make it to Trump.
You're standing
you have
on a
these
platform.
things glued to your hands.
No, you're standing. You're standing straight up.
Okay.
And you can lift it and kick it and yeah.
Okay, this is
anyway. Why are we talking?
A good suggestion for Dean Phillips if he wants to make his name.
We're trying to help him out.
Get a skywriter to write Dean Phillips. I mean, anything, dude.
Yeah.
But so what do you think happens? So then what do you think Trump wins? What do you think?
The general election?
Yeah.
I think it is Trump's to lose. I think they've got to be super careful, though, because I think something could happen in the next 8 months. And so what are the Republicans offering? I mean, if they keep to the baseline issues that won him the nomination in the presidency in 2016, and in my view, that is immigration, trade, and foreign policy, and they message discipline that to the hilt, the border, jobs going to China, and we should get out of these foreign wars, he will win the election. If it is a hodgepodge of weird Republican hobby horses and there's no message discipline, honestly closer to the 2020 effort, right? I mean, it was kind of doomed from the Keep America CAG. Remember this?
Keep America, right?
CAG is he's better as an opposition candidate.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a poster. He's a critic. He always was, even before X, even before Twitter. This is naturally advantageous for him, and the indictments themselves do seem to have sharpened him. I mean, we were commenting before the show, the man's lost weight. He seems funnier than he did 4 years ago. His mood seems elevated. Most people who've been indicted 95 times, I feel like, would be
they
near.
have a funny sense of a view on life.
Trump thrives on this, and so if he can stay disciplined, I mean, even the tone that he struck after winning the Iowa caucus was very magnanimous. He talked about his father-in-law back in Slovenia. Right. I believe the man's wife had just died. I mean, it was statesman-like. But if it is just like this, whirlwind of complaints, and then one weird Republican initiative after another, where they get mired into talking about, tax cuts for the rich or cutting Social Security, it's going to make Trump's brand less independent for the GOP. Trump is stronger than the Republican brand himself.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.